Welcome to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm Saul Bookman, your host for today, because Mike is apparently it takes more than 48 hours to travel from Nevada to Arizona, which I don't believe, but
Mike has super secret things he's working on.
But yeah, Mike is just a different cat altogether, and we all know this. But joining me today is Ali Farhang from 1490 ESPN Tucson and all the other things in Tucson as well. Also part of the Arizona Bowl. So thanks, Ali, for joining us.
Saul, great to be here, man. This is me and you have been a long time coming. So yeah. I think everybody should get on the edge of their seats because this is going to be special.
All right. That's what we call setting up people for failure. Ali, you have been on with Justin millions of times. And I always say every time I call in, every time Justin's like, hey, can you come on in the morning? I'm like, sure, no problem. And I always forget to ask, is Ali going to be on? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of jumping on the show unless you're on. Like, there's a little bit of, we give each other shit a little bit here and there, and it's just fun and it's a good, engaging conversation, man. So glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And I think it's a little bit of, your and Justin's relationship goes back, further than me and you. And he wants you all to himself. He's that kind of guy, right? So, because he knows when me and you get on, we're going to chop it up. Like you said, we're going to give each other shit. And I think he feels like a little hole in his heart that he doesn't get you all to himself.
Yeah, well, he'll get over it. He's a big boy. So, listen, man, I want to say shout out, happy birthday to first, it's Kobe Bryant. And, obviously it's 8/2/24. So it's kind of a significant day today. But also on top of that, it is Jason Shear's birthday. So I want to give a shout out, friend of the program, always jumps on there. And I think there is the Bo Brock and Damon Farrell here also have birthdays today. Everybody's having a birthday today, and I don't understand what's going on. So 8/2 something was a popular day.
If I read Twitter correctly, and if our guy Justin Spears is reporting accurately, which is 50-50, I think it's also offensive coordinator Dino Babers' mother's birthday.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, her birthday too, which is pretty wild. But the biggest thing is the biggest soon-to-be anniversary or yearly thing we'll celebrate is now our inclusion officially into the Big 12 today. Finally, it is official. The Arizona Wildcats part of the Big 12, along with Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah. A big day officially, even though we've basically already been with the conference for a couple months now. Your overall feeling in terms of what this means for the school, but also the conference as a whole?
Well, I got to be honest with you, man. Today, when I saw that, it was kind of a surprise to me. And the analogy I made on Spears and Ali this morning is like you've been with a girl for like a year, and she says to you, hey, you know what? I think we should be exclusive. And it's like, kind of thought we were exclusive already. Yeah. So do we need to talk about anything? But I guess, I don't know, contractually or whatever, today was the day that it was official. And I feel like as an Arizona fan, a very biased Arizona fan, not media, unlike Mr. Spears, that this is going to be great for the school. It's going to be great for the fans. And whether you're talking about football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and run down the list, the level of competition, the level of fan passion is going to be at a level that is much greater, unfortunately, than we've experienced in the Pac-12 in the last few years.
Yeah, that has been the one thing about the Pac-12 that I will not miss. I will not miss the half-empty stadiums. I will not miss the half-empty arenas when Arizona comes to town. It felt like, honestly, for the most part, the only time they did pack those arenas was when Arizona came to town, which is just not going to happen in the Big 12. Listen, once you go, anywhere east of Utah, or east of Colorado, it's gonna get intense. Kansas State, Kansas, they always pack the arena. Of late, Kansas has been packing their football stadium, and Kansas State has always done that. Iowa State's always done that. You got a list of teams in the Big 12 that are going to be just awesome environments for an athlete to go in. And it was funny because I was on a Big 12 thread today on Facebook, and it said, hey, all the newcomers, what's the number one place Can anybody here give these newcomers any advice on places to avoid in terms of stadiums? And it was funny because there was multiple comments saying, you want to avoid the space game. If your team gets the space game, just plan on that being a big L for you. And of course, we have the space game this year.
We do.
Yeah, but I just think that this is a tremendous opportunity for the U of A to really get more exposure nationally, because they were really set back in this last decade and a half.
You know, the thing that I'm fascinated by from a psychological standpoint. So, like, as you know, Saul, we know each other. I am a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, right?
Yeah.
And
unfortunately,
there's nothing better than going to an opposing stadium and it just be all Steelers fans and all terrible towels. And for Arizona sports, basketball in particular, you know, we would take over stadiums and you would hear on TV the U of A chants. It's from a psychological standpoint. We've got a couple of things we're going to have to come to grips with. It's going to be hard to get tickets at these other venues, number one. Number two, we're going to have a number of people come to our games and pack our football, basketball, men's and women's basketball stadiums. And, you know, when you're at McHale, and if there's one person rooting for the other team, you know, it's like making a noise during a free throw, everybody turns their head. Get ready for a lot more of that. So there's going to be, from a mental standpoint, a real adjustment for Arizona fans, because we're not taking over in men's basketball on the road, and people who will be coming to Tucson, which in the big picture is great economically for the city of Tucson. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I will say, though, you know, I've been to Fog Allen, and I was kind of surprised that at that time it was Oklahoma against Kansas, and I was surprised to see a sprinkling of Sooners fans there, and I think that's what you'll see. Basically, you'll have the opportunity to go to some of these games, but it's not going to be. Listen, you're not going to have your pick of seats to choose from. It's going to be very limited. It'll be tight, and it'll be hostile in those environments, which you expect. Which is something that I really do appreciate. Like, I want to see this team battle tested. There's been too many times where we've gone on the road to play. Like, I think about all the times we ever play ASU. You know, it's just like, you know, we're the Super Bowl that year. You know, and if they don't beat us, then it's, you know, it's kind of a disaster of a year. And so I'm excited for us to finally not be everybody's Super Bowl, because Kansas joins that fray. Houston's a legit basketball program. Baylor's always been legit. Iowa State's legit. Like, we're going to have 5 top 15 teams in the country to start basketball, not to mention football and all the environments that go along with that. I just keep thinking about, like, this is going to raise the level of not only play, but also recruiting and also notoriety, because we've been thought of as a West Coast team. And now we basically are crossing the country. Texas opens up. Florida's going to open up. It's just a really, really great time to join this conference. And I couldn't be more excited.
I could not agree with you more. And then, you know, when we're talking about men's basketball in particular, I don't think the Pac-12 did us any favors. And from a mental standpoint, again, like the days of us going, 28-4, 27-5, that's over. I mean, we're going to be a more battle-tested, hardened, more prepared team for the tournament, but it's going to be 21-10. And because the Big 12 and men's basketball is a grind, and I actually think it's going to be to our benefit, but Arizona fans got to get over the fact that our record may not be may not be the prettiest girl at the dance like it was in the Pac-12.
It might not be, but I do think that they will be more prepared for the tournament and the grind of the tournament, because you've gone through the grind of the Big 12 season. And listen, Arizona's a good enough program to where they will, they'll have seasons where they only lose 4 or 5 games. Their non-conference schedules have been tough, obviously. And, Tommy Lloyd has prepared them accordingly. In football, listen, this is a really unique year because we're actually going to play 10 Big 12 teams instead of 9 because of the weird quirk schedule that happened back in 2014-15 by scheduling Kansas State as a non-conference opponent. So that game's not even going to count towards the Big 12 title, but it will count towards their overall record. So a few twists and unique things that are happening. When you think about the Pac-12, as we put a bow on this, as you think about the Pac-12, what's like the number one thing you're always going to take away and remember about the time that we spent in this conference?
I guess a lot of my nostalgia about the conference is like from 20, 30 years ago, when I really believed that when you called it the Conference of Champions, that it wasn't just a narrative, there was some substance to it. And so I'm thinking of like when Stanford had Todd Lickney and, Reggie Miller at UCLA and Jason Kidd at Cal, Gary Payton at Oregon State. I mean, we saw some of the greatest basketball players ever through the Pac-12. And then in football, USC and how great they were. UCLA had a run. Washington had a major run. I'll remember it fondly of how great it was. And then unfortunately, through really just bad leadership, a lack of innovation, a lack of creativity, a lack of vision, the conference kind of got into this thing of status quo. And, Saul, I've coached high school football for years, and I believe this, and I've got a lot of coaching cliches, but I believe this probably top 3. You're getting better, you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. And the Pac-12, because of its hubris, because of a bad leadership, they just thought being the same was just good enough. And now the league doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, I do think that when you think about the Pac-12 and really the Larry Scott era, because I feel like as much as people want to bag on George Kliavkoff, I just feel like when he took that job, he was basically asked to provide a Hail Mary of sorts to recover. And you got to go all the way back to when they just bypassed on Texas and Oklahoma. And I feel like that was the writing on the wall at that point, because you were not maneuvering to take advantage of what the future landscape was going to be. Instead, you were content with who you were, thinking that you were above everybody. But we all know that they weren't. Like, you haven't won a national championship in the 2 major sports in well over 3 decades now. 97 was the last one, obviously, with us. You've had a couple Final Four appearances from other schools, UCLA and such, but outside of that, nothing. And you just kind of sat back and waited for everything to happen. And when it did happen, it happened negatively towards your own conference. And I feel like that's ultimately the big takeaway I'm going to have. I'm going to remember some of the great games that we had. And it was, the experience of the experiences of those games were awesome. But I just felt like this conference wasn't as strong from a basketball and football perspective. Overall, I feel like we were kind of top heavy from time to time, but it just didn't feel like 1 through 8 we were solid no matter what, right? It always felt like 4 or 5, and maybe you have that flash at 6 or 7, but that's about it. And I'm looking for that to change. I'm hoping this is the spark that's going to change. Ali talked about, trying to get tickets on the road. You can get tickets on the road by using Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get your tickets for cheap. And I've used it multiple times. I actually bought Kevin Hart tickets for when he comes here, and I got a pretty good ticket price. I paid like $214 for like 2 tickets. I think that's pretty good. And we're sitting center, and I get to see him. So that's pretty dope. But you can go to Game Time. Go to Game Time. Use promo code PHNX. Save yourself up to $20 on your first purchase. Remember, that's PHNX is the code you can use to get yourself $20 off of tickets. I always like to wait until last minute to make sure that I get the best possible rate. You can do the same thing. That's what Game Time's known for. They're going to take care of you. So remember, promo code PHNX. Save yourself $20 and enjoy. Ali's part of the inner circle. He knows that. He asked me before we joined the show, are we going to talk about Circle K? And yes, Ali, we always talk about Circle K here on this great show because we always back the K. You can back the K by downloading the Inner Circle app. Inner Circle app will save you 25 cents off a gallon of gas for your first 5 fill-ups. And then after that, you save about 3 cents until you get the Ali Farhang rate, which bumps you up to 5 cents off per gallon, which I'm currently at right now. And it's awesome. Download the Inner Circle app. Save yourself a lot of money. You're going to get beverages as well. They hook you up with 5 different beverages and snacks throughout the first couple months that you sign up. And then after that, there's always these deals that they're constantly throwing out on that app that you can use when you go into Circle K. They have the best snacks out there, cheap gas. Hook yourself up by backing the K and going to download that Inner Circle app. Remember, terms and conditions will apply, and see the show notes for details.
That Coke Slurpee, man, you can't beat it, especially after a long night out. It gets you straight. But the only thing I don't believe what you just said is you bought tickets for Kevin Hart. Man, you're such a celebrity. I don't believe that you bought tickets. You got those things comped. You know you did. Man.
Yeah. Listen, if one of the greatest things about working at Fox Sports Arizona and Bally Sports was the fact that I did get hooked up with tickets a lot because we had company tickets. So I was very fortunate. I am not in that same game anymore. I don't have the hookups anymore. So unfortunately, I got to spend my own cash, which is fine. We did have a super chat from Lonnie Johansson, said, welcome to the Big 12 AZ. Appreciate the love, Lonnie. A BYU fan, it looks like. So thanks for joining the program today.
Lonnie, I'm rooting for Tucson's own Trayson Bourget to be your starting quarterback. We had him on the show this week. He's a great kid. He's a great football player, a better person, and uber talented. So hopefully we see Trayson Bourget being the starting quarterback there.
The Bourget family has been they've always been fantastic. Those two kids, one at ASU, obviously with Trenton, and then Trayson over at BYU. If you've ever met those kids, you every time you leave away, you're just like, yeah, those are some really good kids, man, and that's what it's all about, right? Now I hope you take an L when we play you, but outside of that,
right.
Hey, good luck, because that they're representing Tucson. What has been your overall impression so far through the couple days of camp? What have you seen? What have you heard? I know, listen, you talk about me getting the hookup. You got, you kind of got your fingers in everything. You got a pulse on what's happening around you. What are you taking away from this?
There were times last year where I believed, in my opinion, our former coach abandoned the running game because he wanted to show how smart he was in the passing game. And, our running game was really strong last year. And you saw Jonah Coleman do a really good job towards the end of the season, especially. I think with Dino Babers, the offensive line we have, it looks like Rhino might have the inside pole position on left tackle. You got Jonah Savinea at right tackle, Josh Baker at center, our guard, Wendell Moe. You got a really good offensive line, and our running backs that room is stacked. I think you may see a little more nasty out of this Arizona team this year on the offensive end, especially when it comes to the running game, setting up the play action pass. And then defensively, man, to me, the thing I'm really looking for, like right now we're doing football in shorts. And I was telling Justin today, it's like anything we say really doesn't mean crap. Let's wait till next Friday after we have a week of pads. Then we can make some real assessments. I'm really interested in how's that defensive line, because on paper, in a lot of ways, it looks good, but paper, take it to your favorite room, you can quickly put it behind you. I want to see it in action on the field. If our defensive line is fairly good and our defense is in the middle of defensive rankings in the Big 12, with the talent that we have, barring injury, which is the big if in any football season, because football is a game of attrition.
Yeah.
We are set up really nicely to be definitely vying for the Big 12 title.
I do agree with you. The defensive front has always been a concern for me. The front seven, I wouldn't even say front seven, because I do think we're going to see a lot of nickel coverage. We're going to see a lot of safety play in the box. So, I would say more of like the front 5 or 6, because, you're going to have 3 or 4 defensive linemen. You're going to have a couple linebackers in there that are trying to make an impact, but it's going to be the rest of that core, right? You're going to probably see Traden Stukes in the box a little bit more. You're probably going to see, Hunter Smith, out there in the box as well. So like, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for this team to be creative in their scheme, and that's why Dwayne Aquina staying was so important. But on the offensive side, you talked about. The one thing about this offense that I am very interested to see is I do agree with you. I feel like we're going to see a little bit more of a nasty edge to them, but the thing that excites me the most is I just think that the box is completely wide open in terms of what you can pull out of on any given play. You can go 4 wide because you have the talent to go 4 wide. You can go 12 personnel and you can just run the ball and pound with 2 excellent tight ends. Like, the versatility that this offense has is not really common right now in college football, because typically you want to adhere to your own identity, and typically spread teams don't really utilize the tight end as much, and they don't run the ball as heavy as I think you're going to see Arizona. And matter of fact, Alonzo Carter talked about the technique of the running backs and how much that has been a focus here in the early going.
You have different everybody use different language, how they use it. The 6 points of pressure with that ball's chin. Not make you always tell me if the back door is open, that means there's air in there, and make sure the back door is closed. And when they put that hand across, that's vicing it, or like some people, they like to X the ball. So whatever it's comfortable for them when they're in that what I call black hole space. Black hole space is from the line of scrimmage to the second level where the linebackers are. You don't know where that pressure is coming from. You don't know if it's a linebacker or a defensive lineman. So even though it looks good, you running in there with that ball and you untouched while it's tagged and you think you have a touchdown. The reality of it, treat it like your eyes are closed and you can't see from here to there. You're going to make sure that ball's secured. So that's something you're going to hear me emphasize every day.
Don't get caught slipping is basically the message there. And I love the fact that I've never heard that term, the black hole zone, where, you know, you get through that line and you think you have something, but you just never know. I like Alonzo Carter. I like his message. I also like, from what I've been hearing, his approach on the field is very stern. It's very firm, but it comes with a lot of love and a lot of teaching. That's what you want out of a good coach.
Yeah, you know, Alonzo Carter is one of those coaches where he's tough and the players love him even more for it. And with JCM, Quali Conley, Speedy Luke, I mean, there's a panoply of options there. I think they're going to, you know, other than maybe T-Mac, obviously Noah Fafita, you know, you as a coach, the goal is to not outcoach your own team, but to outcoach the other team. And the best way you can outcoach the other team is keep it simple. Put the ball in your best player's hands. And some of our best players from a skill position are at the running back position. So I'm excited to see maybe more utilization of Speedy Luke all over the field. And man, JCM from New Mexico, I just think that Arizona fans are in for a treat with him because he just glides out there. He's got such great vision. And with that offensive line, man, I'm excited to see the ground and pound of this Arizona football team in 2024.
That is the number one thing I have heard the most. It's so far early on in camp is how much JCM has impressed everybody. Like they keep saying, "Oh yeah, NFL back without a doubt," which is, I mean, hell. Like as great as we had last year with Jonah Coleman and Michael Wiley, you know, Michael Wiley's fighting for a spot in the NFL right now. Jonah Coleman, we'll see where he ends up landing. He'll probably end up in the NFL at some point for sure. But you know, with Jacory, like that's the promising thing with this, you know, and that's not even throwing in Quali and Speedy as well, who have immense talent, but they're versatile. They're versatile. And I think you're going to see a little bit of ground and pound. I think you're going to see a little bit of, you know, some power sweeps. I think you're going to see, you know, some reverses. And the one thing about Dino Babers' offense that I had mentioned before was he likes to go 4 wide. But he likes to use a lot of motion and action to trick the defense into thinking certain other things are happening. And then he'll hitch up the gut with the run. And his best years at Syracuse were when he had bigs on the outside wide that were able to catch the ball at various levels. And he had a dynamic back to be able to run the ball and be shifty. And then if you threw in like the quarterback runs, which I did see quite a lot of, especially last year, a little too much for my liking. I hope that they would avoid at all costs trying to get Noah Fafita to really execute those RPOs by holding onto the ball. I don't really want to see that too much because he's got too much talent to do that. But I do like everything else that Dino brings to the table.
Yeah, and you know, he's his mentality is, you know, punch him in the mouth, right? And I think you brought up a really great point. Last year we ran a lot of 11 personnel with one tight end with Tanner McLaughlin. And if you can run 12 personnel, and Keon Burnett is a tight end, but he's also kind of a hybrid receiver, like what we're seeing a lot of in the NFL right now. So if you can run 2 tight ends right now, you can create those kind of mismatches where you can get big and run the ball, or you can spread them out and pass the ball. And you're going to have guys, you know, you're going to have a slot receiver running against a linebacker. I'm looking forward to the mismatches Dino Babers is going to create. I'm looking forward to a lot more 2 tight end sets on the offense.
Yeah, no, I do too. I do also love Dino Babers' perspective on the offensive line. You know, basically, you know, you grew up in the area of the Washington Redskins at the time back in the day, and they used to call them the hog mollies, the hogs up front, and that kind of stuck with offensive linemen through the years. Dino Babers has a different perspective on what type of animal offensive linemen really are.
It makes my hair stand up that our starting center said the word nasty about an offense. You know, as they go, we go. You know, I grew up in the age where everybody used to call the offensive linemen hogs. I said, well, our offensive linemen are not hogs, they're elephants. Everybody says that the lions is the king of the jungle. That's not true. I've seen many lions look at a whole bunch of elephants and go, I ain't going down there. Those guys are big. So the elephants are the king of the jungle, and as they go, we go. And if Baker's going to lead and he says we're nasty, then we're nasty.
I've never heard elephants were the king of the jungle until today. What say you, Ali?
Elephants are the king of the jungle. And not only that, you had elephants with a left tackle named Rhino. I mean, come on. It's I wouldn't mess with any of them. There's a lot of this game is about mentality. And it's like, look, there's nothing worse when we're rooting for our favorite teams, when the other team is just relentlessly running the ball on us and we can't stop them. There's nothing more defeating. I mean, we saw it during the 5-7 season with Arizona. Justin made a great point today that that team is 8-7 wins if we could have stopped the run, but we just couldn't stop the run. Yeah. So you take Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, you Kali Ma the other team, you just take their hearts right out when you can get 4 or 5 yards of a carry and they just can't stop you. It's just like beating in your hands.
Do you feel like, okay, so 2014-15, we go to the Fiesta Bowl and we lose to Boise State. Should have won that game. But that year was a little, I'm not going to say fluky, but I would say, listen, we needed a Hail Mary and we needed Washington to absolutely crap the bed in the last 2 minutes, ball management or time management wise, to win those games and really get to where we were in that season, right? So some things had to go our way. Last year, I didn't feel like we got those breaks and we still were a 9-win team. I feel more confident about this team this year going into this season, despite the head coaching change, than I did back then going into the next year. Even though Scooby was coming back and you had all these guys coming back, like on paper, you felt pretty good. But I also knew but we got quite a few breaks that went our way. I didn't feel like that this last season. It feels more sturdy. Do you see that and feel that?
Buddy, I could not agree with you more. I mean, I feel that substance to this team this year. And, frankly, I think that last year, the only reason we finished 10-3, frankly, is one play in Palo Alto, California. And the hesitancy to acknowledge the fact that Noah Fafita was the better quarterback, even after that, really says a lot about sometimes coaches just have their guy and they're obstinate about it and they will not waver. I mean, I don't think Noah Fafita was ever named the starter last year, right? He is the co-starter. He's just going to end up playing the game. So, the only thing that's a little bit I think it's the opposite of what you're saying with that year. I think that it would have been, there's more substance this year because of a change that reluctantly had to be made by the head coach last year. And once it was made, there's a lot of substance to it. This team, look, every football season, Saul, it's a new book. Yeah. And, you can have the most eloquent writer and he can have the best penmanship, but it doesn't really matter if you don't got any ink. And Jimmy's and Joe's win games. And no matter what you draw up, it doesn't work if you've got, a poop salad as your offensive line and your quarterback. So we got the Jimmys and the Joes. I like this coaching staff a lot. And I think this story is going to be really good for Arizona fans. And the only thing we don't know are the variables that we can't predict, right? Like I said, football seasons are games. It's a game of attrition. If we can stave off injury at really important places where we don't have depth, then Arizona is going to have a really great year.
Yeah, I like the feel of this team. I do like the fact that Brett Brennan is also, it just feels stable. From a national perspective, I get it. I get why people would doubt, whether they can continue the same amount of success when you lose your head coach. But for us here locally, for us that follow the team day after day, and you see exactly how everything came to fruition, one of the things that keeps ringing in my head is you have to learn how to win. And I felt like when Noah lost against Washington and USC, especially USC, and when I talked to him at Big 12 Media Day, I said, what's one game or one moment that you wish you could have back? He immediately said USC, because he knew, like, if he doesn't throw that pick, they don't get the momentum, and Arizona probably wins that game easily. But instead, one play can shift the whole dynamic of a game, and it did. And you're looking at a team that could have easily been an 11-win team at the end of the season. They could have been in a New Year's Six bowl game at that point, and that would have been quite remarkable. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, Noah learned from that. He moved on, and now this season he's going to be even better, because he knows every little game, every little moment is going to count. And I know that's going to be the message from him in this fall camp.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, sometimes as an Arizona fan, you kind of feel like the Wile E. Coyote, right? And the Roadrunner standing right there, and you're about to eat, and the next thing you know, you're walking on air, and then an anvil falls on your head. So I'm saying I'm going to be cautiously optimistic about this season. But the one thing Noah Fifita has shown us off the field, on the field, is, like I said, you're getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. Noah Fifita got better every single game that we played. And frankly, I think that it's like almost that was his rookie year. And the jump in the NFL or at any level of football is between your first year and your second year. So if he can make that jump from first year to second year, man, he's going to be dynamite this year.
I'm excited. I'm excited for him. What's the number one road game you're looking forward to?
Man, that is a good question. I think that Kansas State, Manhattan, Kansas, even though it is not a conference game, is going to be off the hook. I think they've got a great fan base. And
are you going to go to that one?
We'll see. We shall see.
Well, no, Ali. I need confirmation, because your boy is going to that one.
Oh, you are?
I've already got my tickets. I'm already ready. Listen, I am an Aggieville fiend. I know all about K-State. So if you want to go have a good time, you need to let me know, man. Come on, man.
I'm one of those things where it's like my plans are made like sometimes days in advance with everything that's going on. But I just think that's going to be a great game. Frankly, I think a lot of the venues in the Big 12 are awesome. At some point, going to Waco and playing Baylor, going to Fort Worth and playing TCU, both football and basketball. I know they talk in basketball, going to Kansas and Fog Allen. Yeah, that's cool. I want to go to Ames, Iowa. Iowa State, man, that is a raucous crowd, especially in men's basketball. So I don't think you can lose going to different venues in the Big 12. And I'm just really looking forward to, like we started the show with, just the increase in fan passion. And, the Pac-12, going back to that, the issue with the Pac-12, one of the big issues is they mixed up academia and business, and they were too late to realize that athletics is about money and business. It has nothing to do with academia. From an athletic standpoint, the Big 12 has a lot of great schools academically, but man, from an athletic standpoint, it's going to be off the hook. I can't wait. So maybe we will see each other in Manhattan, my man. We will definitely have a beer.
Yeah, man, it'll be fun. I'm also going to try and make it out to the space game. We'll see if that happens. Back-to-back trips to Florida might be a little tough to swing, but I know
I don't like that game. I don't like that game at all.
I don't like that game either. Like, that's probably the one game on the schedule where I'm probably a little bit more apprehensive about, because I'm just like, I know that environment. I looked up some of the last space games, and it's just crazy. It's crazy. They wear a special uniform in that game, and it's just kind of like hopefully we find a way to get through that one for sure. Everybody has had problems when they played UCF in the space game, so if we did, it wouldn't be a surprise. But I do feel like we are definitely the better team. I know UCF hasn't finished very high in the conference, but outside of that, again, like every single game on the road is going to be a new experience. I love the fact that even for basketball season, guess what? It's not going to be Thursday, Saturday, or it's not going to be late night Wednesday or late night Friday. It's going to be big Monday. And we're going to have, maybe we'll have another game in the middle of the week, but it'll be Mondays and Saturdays for the most part, which is terrific. And it'll be at a decent time. So,
I know.
No more midnight tips. I love it.
It's going to be great. It'd be like, I got off work, and then me and my buddy went to the bar. It was 6:00 and the game started. It's going to be great, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that the Arizona, Kansas State, because we're both Wildcats, I mean, shouldn't we be playing for like the Golden Litter Box or something?
Yeah. It should be sponsored by like 9 Lives or whatever. I don't know what cat food is because I don't have a cat. So, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it should be sponsored by a cat company, right? Like, I think that makes sense.
Is there one like called Yums or something? I mean, Brett Yormark, if we're gonna have any, I mean, coming from Larry Scott, a little bit of grace to George Kliavkoff. You want somebody leading your conference, we got a boss. So if there's anybody that can take advantage of things like that, it's Brett Yormark.
The litter box bowl. Yeah, the litter bowl. I love it. That's Ali Farhang. Ali, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate the time. Also, Arizona Bowl, like anything you want to plug about the Arizona Bowl, anything that's on the top of your mind, any new cool stuff going on? We had Kim Adair on yesterday talking about the Arizona Bowl, but anything you want to add?
I guess the only thing I want to emphasize is when we started this game, it's like, Ali, what do you want to call it? Chimichanga Bowl. This is Tucson's bowl game. Let's call it the Tucson Bowl. And it was with a very thoughtful answer that I said, no, I know ASU and U of A, and that's fine, right? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with those in-state rivalries. This is the Arizona Bowl. We are Arizona. This is the game for everybody. So if you're in Phoenix, Flagstaff, wherever you are in the state, this is your bowl game. This is not Tucson's bowl game, and you're all invited to come down. And I promise you're going to have a great time.
There you go. All right. You can follow Ali. Tell them where they can follow you.
I'm on 1490 AM and 94.9 HD channel 4 with Spears and Ali, 7 to 9 AM on those channels. Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, I'm the chairman. And then if you have any legal needs, farhangandmetcalf.com. Best law firm in the state.
Max Simpson's probably like, hey, no free ads. It doesn't matter because you're the guest today, so you can do whatever the hell you want. That's Ali Farhang. I'm Saul Bookman. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman. You can follow the show at PHNX_Wildcats. Until next week, folks, Mike Luke will be back. We'll have some more video from fall camp and all the latest, obviously, in the U of A world. Until next week, bear down. Happy Friday.
We all silly like the mayor.